How are we going to go see Beyonce in New Jersey in MetLife Stadium? I'm on the waiting list. And I think it's like $2,400 for nosebleed seats. Now, I never was interested in going to a Beyonce concert, but this one is very dancey. And now with my 100-pound weight loss, I feel like I really get my groove on with the danciness, okay? Anybody want to sponsor a YouTube content creator? I'll do a review. Anyway, I just had to do another video today. Because this really sparked my interest. So, first Latina crowned by Coppin State University. Coppin State is a HBCU, and Keylin Perez is from immigrant parents from Guatemala. And I've seen the picture. She's stunning. She's gorgeous. Her resume is all that in a bag of chips. She was not chosen because she is beautiful. Although she is beautiful, she is a sergeant in the Army Reserve. She's a nursing student. She graduates in May. Her resume is that. Like, you know, if it is that. But she's been receiving a lot of backlash and hate because a lot of people feel like it should be reserved for somebody who's black or identifies as black. Now, from the articles that I read, Keylin, and if I'm saying it wrong, Keylin, it's Keylin. I'm going to say Keylin. She does not identify as white, but it didn't say that she identifies as black either. She identifies as Latina or Hispanic, which she should if her parents are from Guatemala. But it's not lost on me that you could be Afro-Latina. You can have black, you know, African ancestry roots and come from those countries. Lupita Nyong'o is Mexican. She is a Mexican Nigerian. She was born and subsequently raised in Mexico. That's why her name is Lupita. Okay, she is Mexican. So you can be black in Guatemala, but this girl, she's very white. She's white presenting. She looks Hispanic. She looks Latina, but she's white presenting. She's not like Amara La Negra, who's my favorite. I just follow her on Instagram. Oh, she had twins. I just love her. Anyway, she's not that. Okay, she's the opposite of that. So a little bit on her resume. She's 22 years old. She graduates in May. She's a nursing major. She's a sergeant in the Army Reserves. And she's been subjugated to online bullying harassment since taking the crown. But little backstory, she ran unchallenged. Okay, there was no other contender. And she was also had the title of Miss Sophomore and Miss Junior. So this is not her first time being very involved with the school and taking some crowns and some titles. And she goes on to say not even for a split hair of a second did she think about giving the crown back or stepping down. Never crossed her mind. She did understand that there might be some people who didn't like it, but she ain't backing down, and why should she? She also says that and it's really sad, you know, I'm blackity black. This is Black History Month. However, this girl has faced discrimination when she was in high school, and there was some racist graffiti, and some of it was newsworthy. She said she went to a high school where there was like 20 black kids and 5 Latino kids, and she had to deal with the discrimination and everything. And then how when she went to Coppin State, she found peace and solace and acceptance when she went to this HBCU. So I'm really sad that she had to deal with this shit from white people in high school, and now she got to deal with the shit from black people. And let's be clear, from what I read in the little articles I read, Coppin State and the student population there stands with her 100%. This seems to be from people outside of the university. And she's part of the Chi Eta Phi sorority. They're a nursing sorority. So she's like I said, she is that girl. She is very involved with the school. She's not some fly by night. It's like in the Army Reserves, nursing, volunteers, they said, doing health screenings for people in the community. Like, she is the shining star of the student population. That's what it seems like. And that's why they chose her. She's the 91st Miss Coppin State University. And that's probably why she ran unchallenged, because they know she's the best. Even the student body knows she's the best. Kaylin's that girl. She's that girl. She just happens to be Latina. And I'm going to get into if you mad, do better. So Coppin State's a HBCU, and it's not 100% black. They have 3% of the population. It identifies as Latino or Hispanic, and 80% are black or African American, and the rest is a mixed bag. They have white students, they have Asian, Pacific Islander, and that's the rest of the student population. So here's a direct quote from the school. Keylin represents Coppin well in word and deed, whatever that means, grace, humility, and resilience. She's a great ambassador for our university and our diverse student body and all we stand for. Eagle, I guess that's their mascot, stands with Keylin Perez, and we're proud to have her as the 91st Miss Coppin State University. This is a direct quote. Like, they like her. They like her there. She's been had a reputation of positivity and representing the school and doing everything that she needs to do. So here's my points and my views on it. Let me sound good. I am talking for the East Coast because that's where I live, and I have to say that the growing number of Spanish-speaking professionals has dramatically increased. I've been doing a ton of open houses for schools and charter schools, and the majority of them are Hispanic. They are Hispanic administrators, Hispanic teachers. The recruiting officers are Hispanic. They are giving the presentation and then translating what they say at the same time. I feel like the Spanish population, as far as where I live, is becoming the minority. Whether it's immigration or the ones that are here populating, because I believe that they have more children than not. They don't beat the Jews now, but they have a lot of children. They continue to have children, and the immigration from the Spanish-speaking countries have increased. Just a little bit of stats though. Black women are still the most educated group in the United States, and if not, you can fight me on it because it is well documented. And yet the black women make far less than their white female counterparts, and even far less than white male counterparts. Like, it's ridiculous. The black women in this country have the most, how do I put this? They have the degrees, black women with degrees, bachelor's or associate degrees, and they hold the most full-time minimum wage jobs with advanced degrees. So they have associates and they have bachelors, and they still are holding down full-time minimum wage jobs. And black women are going to school, and they're gradually trying to break the proverbial ceiling. However, the quality of life is abysmal, especially if you look at health statistics. The AIDS, the maternal death rate is double or more than double that of white women. High blood pressure, hypertension, all of that shit. But they continue to be the most requested. I know if you search for a job on the West Coast, Spanish speaking is right there under preferred qualifications, but they have that big diversity banner that they're EOCC, equal opportunity employer, and but Spanish speaking, we want Spanish speaking. So at this point, if you require Spanish speaking and you're like me and you took French in high school because Spanish was full and you don't speak a lick of French, should me not speaking Spanish become a disability, and should I get a check? And I have to say, whoever don't know, I am married to a Puerto Rican man who is fluent in Spanish, and through begging and pleading to teach him, to get him to teach our children Spanish, he fought it tooth and nail, said he was going to do it, and yayed us to death. And our children could say the ABCs, and they know a few words and a few numbers in Spanish, but at 4 years old, they are far from fluent. And I have told him that he has done a disservice to our children, because by the time they have to become employed, I believe Spanish is going to be a requirement, especially if they stay in this area. So it's up to me to teach them Spanish, like another thing I have to do. I've been with my husband over 10 years. You think I speak Spanish? Absolutely not. No. However, my comprehension is 100%, and that is weird to me. I can understand, like, so if you're talking like Dominicans, no, you guys are in your own class. But if someone is speaking Spanish around me, I know enough words and context and verbs to know exactly what you are saying. However, to speak it, the confidence is very low. And I think that's what I lack, and I think that's what my kids lack, is the confidence to be Spanish speaking. Now, I can read Spanish very well, because the time I did take Spanish in school, it was reading and writing that was emphasized, and hardly any conversation. It was hardly any conversational Spanish. And I didn't get a Regents diploma because I didn't take 4 years of Spanish. I took 3 years of Spanish and 1 year of Latin, and you needed 4 years of Spanish to get a Regents diploma. But it didn't fucking bother me anyway. I went to Hunter College, and whatever. So, I don't know. Anybody who got a Regents diploma, are you making more money than me? Did it do anything for you except get you got a gold sticker on your diploma? I don't know. The fuck. Anyway, I say that to say that my husband, if you're listening, you done fucked up, because our kids don't speak Spanish and their last name is such, and everybody is going to assume that they speak Spanish, just like everybody assumes I speak Spanish, and I got to tell them I'm bleh, and this name was given to me. I wasn't born with it. So, I don't speak of the Spanish. But I could write you an email, and I could Google Translate the fuck out of some Spanish when I'm communicating with my parents who are Spanish speaking. And I remember one uppity ass fucking Spanish woman came to my office because I had mailed out some documentation, and she was like, "Who translated this? This is all wrong." Da 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 da. And she came to my office all big and high and mighty, and she was about to show me that her Spanish was better than mine because she was from España. So you could imagine she was a fucking Spanish speaking Karen, and she came to my office all high and mighty and was like, who, you know, and they were like, "Oh, well, I think she's Puerto Rican," talking about me, because you know they be so, Puerto Ricans are Spanish. I guess they see Puerto Ricans as like the Hicks of the Spanish community. And she was like, "Who translate? This is all wrong." I said, "The state of New York. That's a state document I mailed out as a compliance." And she was like, "Oh." And I said, "Well, if you have a problem with the translations, please call this 518 number and let them know that their Spanish translations are all wrong." I don't think she called, and she had nothing else to say with me, and that's it. So I think as far as on the East Coast, I think now we got, you know, English as a second language curriculum in our school, and these Spanish speaking students who don't speak English, they get extra resources. When I do meetings at my kids' school, it's twice as long, because we got to hear a few sentences in English, and then we got to wait for somebody to translate it. So the meetings take extra long. They get special accommodations. You look for a job. You looking for a job, and they everywhere. If you're in social service, you damn near got to speak Spanish. Damn near got to speak Spanish. If you're doing any kind of social service or educational support job, you know, not necessarily a teacher, you don't have to speak Spanish, but if you're like a community liaison or a parent liaison, they want you to speak Spanish. And Duolingo could only take me so far. Because like I said, you can learn, you can read, you can write. It's the conversation part that is a problem for many of us who aren't born into a Spanish speaking household. Just the confidence. And then we don't have enough practice. Like we don't, you learn it on the computer or whatever, but you don't come home and you don't speak it to anybody. We speak English in the house. And my husband, for whatever reason, he said it hurts his brain, I guess, refuses to communicate with us in Spanish. So, fuck you for that, nigga. I'm just playing. No, but for real. So I go to say this regarding Keylin Perez. Is the problem that Keylin Perez is not a black woman? Is that the problem of her being Miss Coppin State? I don't think so. She applied to that school. She was accepted to that school. She is an active student in that school. She has all the rights and merits to run, unopposed, by the way, to run for that crown. If anybody has a problem with her holding that title, you should have a problem with Coppin State even allowing non-FBAs in the school in the first place. If that's the case, if HBCUs are reserved for foundational black Americans, that's what FBA means. If it is reserved for that, and the whole premise of the HBCU is that, then you should have 100% student population black. But you can't. And this goes back to my same video with Yeshiva University. You can't do that because you take government subsidies. You're a private school. I think it was Trump. Was it Trump that gave a lot of money to HBCUs? If I'm wrong, please let me know. I think it was Trump that gave money to HBCUs. You take government subsidies, therefore you cannot discriminate. If they apply and they have the credentials or whatever, or the grades or whatever to get in, they get in. And it was only a few days ago that Marcus, y'all probably thought he was black, a high school student, Marcus, a quarterback, received 2 scholarships from 2 different HBCUs, Alabama State and University of Florida. He received 2 scholarships to play football, and Alabama State pulled the scholarship because a video came out of him singing rap lyrics in his song and saying the N-word. Now I find that problematic. He didn't say hard nigga. He was reciting rap lyrics. That's the same like the scene in White Chicks when they go, Biggie Smalls and B.I.G., my nigga. And all those white actresses said nigga. Where was the hate and the vitriol for those white actresses when they said nigga sitting alongside the Wayans brothers? To me, that's the same thing. The boy didn't call nobody a nigga, and he didn't say a hard nigga. He said a rap lyric. And if we're going to put that kind of music out, then we shouldn't have no kind of say on who says that fucking word. If you don't want to hear other people saying that word in a lyric, mind you now, don't misconstrue what I'm saying. If you say it in music and you put that music out for public consumption, then how do you say anything when they recite it back as singing or reciting the lyrics you put out there? And by you, I'm talking about blacks. You know, we have music that says bitches and hoes and hoes and bitches and bitches and hoes, and then when a man is singing bitches and hoes, do we say, oh, you're not supposed to say that? No. Now, if he calls you a bitch and a hoe outside of a song, then he deserves a black eye. And if Marcus said nigga outside of the song, then he deserves that scholarship being pulled. Now, I don't know what he says in his personal life. To me, watching that video, he seemed very comfortable saying that word. And he probably is around people that give him the pass to say that word. But I'm all about intent. And I don't know this man from a can of paint or a hole in the wall. I just didn't get hate when I watched that video. I didn't get that. I got somebody enjoying his favorite song saying nigga and took a video of it. But anyway, Alabama State pulled that video, pulled his scholarship, but he still has the University of Florida scholarship available to him, and he's white. He is a white high school quarterback who was offered scholarship to HSBCU. I think the HSBCU is a change of the times. I hear black people saying we can't have nothing. No, we can't. We are not a monolith. We are not segregated anymore. We strive for diversity, but are we not supposed to strive for diversity in historically black universities? They are historically black universities created in a time when black people were not getting accepted into POVs. Is it POV? Into white colleges. I'm getting my letters mixed up. I'm a wealth of information. PWI, sorry, predominantly white institution. So black people were having trouble getting into PWIs. Therefore, the need of the HSBCU, or the need of these schools, started so that black people could have admission into colleges. But we're not there anymore. Now, I don't think HSBCU should change its history. Like, you can't change history. And I think it should be primarily a safe haven kind of situation for black students when they find they're not getting offered the same or comparable education that a PWI is giving to them, so that they go to these HSBCUs. But do I think HSBCU should be black? Should be all the way black? Absolutely not. That's stupid. And I'm happy to see that more non-black people are taking interest in HSBCUs, because we need, and for the longevity of the HSBCU, they need to churn out successful citizens who then give back to the school. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need them to become successful and to become benefactors and open libraries and open dorms and give money in like people do. You leave, you have a trust and money is left to your college. We need that. And the wealth of this country is still held in white hands. The majority of the wealth is still in white hands. So let's get some white students going there, so we could have the wealth go into HSBCUs when they graduate, and we could spread the wealth out. You know what I mean? But I'm also a realist, and I need Latin and Hispanic people, especially in this country, to acknowledge the privilege and the benefits that you get because of foundational black Americans, and stop turning up your nose to us. Well, not to me, because I'll check a bitch in a motherfucking second. But stop turning your nose up at black people when you are benefiting because of black people. Okay? So, Keylin, and I'm not talking to her because when I read her little interview when these newspapers interviewed her, she seemed to put all the acknowledgement and respect on Coppin State University and explain what it meant to her. And I felt that. Like, she is going to leave, become a nurse, become successful, and come back. She's going to be something. She is going to be something, and she's going to be saying, I went to Coppin State, da-da-da-da-da. Just like Kamala, I went to HSBCU. Like, that's going to be her. Like, reading this girl's resume, I'm impressed. She's 22 years old. I'm impressed. Okay? You go, Keylin. However, for you others who are benefiting off the backs of what FBA's done, you need to stop turning your nose up at black people, because we don't have the privilege that you have being light. Okay? That pill is still easier to swallow when you have the complexion for protection. Okay? They might not like your accent, but they like your aesthetic. They like the way you look. Okay? If anybody tells me that J-Lo is successful because of her talents, I'm going to say fuck off. Fuck off. There's a reason why J-Lo has to look the way J-Lo looks at 50 plus. Now, is she talented? Yes. But is she more talented than oh my God. Who is that comic that nobody wanted to design for? She was horrible in that Ghostbusters. Leslie Jones. Leslie Jones does not have the look. Leslie Jones does not have the aesthetic, but she has the talent. And I think if Leslie Jones looked like J-Lo, she would be higher than where she is at an earlier age. She is a older woman. She got to be 50 plus. I don't know her age because I'm on my phone. I can't look it up. But she got to be 50 plus. Okay? And she is where she is. She would have got that at 25 if she looked the way J-Lo looked. And if J-Lo looked like Leslie Jones with her talent, it'd be 50 before we noticed J-Lo. So, Latin American people who are light and fair and white passing, there needs to be some acknowledgement that you are capitalizing off of the privilege and hard work of FBAs. That's just fact. That's not my opinion. That is fact. Okay, all this diversity and stuff, and all of this stuff is because of what happened with the Jim Crow era and segregation and all this shit, and Brown versus the Topeka, right? Topeka, Kansas Board of Education. Okay, I don't, it's just that. Like, let's acknowledge. Go to the museum. Go take a trip to Washington D.C. and go to the museum and look at all of the stuff that ex-slaves did. Okay? Because if you didn't do that, you'd be a nigga just like us. And you might have the complexion to pass, but between us and them, you're with us. Okay? You're not of them. Asian people too. You're not of them. You're in us. You're not white to them. Okay? You would have to be from a Europe, Spanish country. You would have to be from Spain. If you're from South America, Ecuador, any of the Spanish-speaking Caribbean islands, you are not white to them. You are not. You're not even Spanish to the people from Spain. They want y'all to call yourselves Hispanic. People from Puerto Rico and Caribbean islands, and if you're not from Spain, you're not Spanish. You speak Spanish, but you are not from Spanish, because Spanish is the derivative of Spain. And if you're from any of these other countries, you are Hispanic or Latina. You are not. And Hispanic, history of Spanish. That's what Hispanic means. That's how they see you. But anyway, back on Keylin. Keylin, I'm really happy. I'm really happy that Coppin State chose you, even though you ran unopposed. They didn't have nobody else to pick, but I think you ran unopposed because the whole student body knew you was that girl. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to you. You're 22 years old. I can't wait to see how you change the world.